Hi guys, I'm Jessi Kneeland of Remodel Fitness, and this is my Ask Jessi Kneeland series. I have a guest with me today. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Abby Clark, and I'm so happy to be here.
So I'm going to read a question that got emailed to me by a client, and the reason that I want to have a guest help me answer it, in part because we just spent the last 24 hours having
the coolest slumber party ever.
Sleepover in the middle of Pennsylvania for no reason other than that we wanted to meet up. So because of the question and the intensity of the question, and I feel like the relevance to women right now with the political environment, I wanted to have a guest to kind of answer it. So you'll see what I mean when I read the question. Hi, Jessi. As I watched the news last night, a huge knot formed in my stomach. I tried to find compassion for those who have irritated, angered, and offended me, but I'm struggling to find solace in the face of fear. Fear for my rights, fear for the future, just a great unquantifiable and unknown fear. How do I find compassion while I'm harboring so much fear? And how can I find compassion for someone who I am so fearful of? So that was written about the election night. And we've spent a lot of time talking about this, so I think it's a huge and important question. It's the question right now. Everyone is trying to find their way post-election night and the results that included, and especially relevant to women right now. So we're going to give a little bit of our thoughts. Just know that this is huge. We don't have the answers. We are just working through it and doing the best we can. So we'll give some thoughts.
Yes, like Jessi said, this is a very intense question right now. I think, like she mentioned, it is the question that we're all asking. And I think right now we're right there with you. Personally, we've been talking about this all night, and we are seeing and feeling one another in this, but I think we're still all trying to process and absorb what's going on and how to respond to this. So for my personal initial reaction to the election outcome, I was angry, sad, scared, crying, screaming, all of those feelings, and all of those completely okay to really live in those feelings, and not allowing myself just to swallow those feelings and ignore. And then after I allowed myself to express that and to be with that, I realized that I had more compassion for the women, the men, the children, the minorities, the lesbian, gay community, special needs, school education. I just had more compassion in my heart and more space for people, and especially women, and realizing, setting aside our differences, setting aside the way we look, the way we view certain things, realizing that we're all in this together. And I needed to hold space for the women in my life and the women who I don't know, for strangers. Yeah. And I just had this overwhelming sense of humanness, of just compassion and love and kindness, and that's the only way it can triumph what's going on.
One of the things you said to me was that as you looked around with the women, kind of post-election results, the women that you just ran into randomly, like in a coffee shop or wherever, the sense was there's an acknowledgement that we are all victims of this. Yeah. And not victim mentality, just like, hey, we are all not okay with being treated that way, being pushed aside, being pat on the head and saying, hey, you're, the things that you think are important, that's cute, but we're going to ignore it.
Right. So it was a sense of awareness of each other, mm-hmm. and awareness of our presence. And it was a silent awareness. There were smiles, there was locked eye contact. Mm-hmm. And those were connections I had never really felt in going into a coffee shop before, and just other women who I don't know, but it was like this, all of a sudden we just felt each other and we acknowledged each other's presence, and we're like, I got you. I got you, I get you, I feel you, I'm here with you. We are here together. And so for me, I'm trying to take all of this sadness and this anger and fear and turn it into a way to take action, to be an activist for what we want. And by doing so, to be this activist, we have to be that change. And rolling around in bed that night, waiting to see the outcome, I just kept telling myself this mantra: be the change you want to see, be the change you want to see, be the change you want to see. And so I woke up with that thinking, okay, I need to be the change And no matter what the outcome is, it's going to start with us first, collectively. First, me, and then collectively with how I respond and act towards those around me. So, again, I think it's something that we're all processing and absorbing and trying to figure out. I think it's a very roller coaster moment for us right now, and I think that that's all okay. I think instead of trying to suppress it and push it aside, and try to like put on our shoes and go out like another day is not what we need to do. I think we do need to be with it. I think we need to connect with the women and the people that support us in our lives and express that and be with it.
So one of the really important things with all the work that I do, and you've probably heard me say this before, is allowing it all. Like, you're big enough to hold it all. You are big enough to hold all of this inside you. And that includes, like, having hateful, evil thoughts about Trump supporters right now and being just baffled if that's where you're at right now. You can hold that simultaneously with allowing yourself to be spacious or compassionate. You can hold the anger, the sadness. You can hold hope and joy. You can hold all of it. You are big enough to have all of that simultaneously going on. You don't need to just shut down one side. As far as I'm concerned, you don't need to say, no more anger, now I have to just be hopeful.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't have to happen until you're ready, but you are in charge of knowing what direction you're going as long as you're conscious and you're taking action and going, okay, I'm aware that I'm angry right now and that's okay and I'm allowing it, but I'm not staying in it. I'm not leaning into the anger and being like, that's the, so it's allowing the whole spectrum to flow through you in whatever order it needs to, in whatever timeline it needs to, and taking this kind of action. So in order to find that compassion, I believe we need to take care of ourselves first. That transition that you described, that cultural transition that we're kind of all like dealing with of like, what the hell? And now you're like looking around and you're like, we're kind of maybe all in this together as far as moving forward. That can only happen if each of us is willing to show up and ready to show up, and that requires self-care. That requires offering yourself the gift of rest if you need rest, connection, definitely, and support in any way that you need support. So, reaching out to the fellow women or other people in your life who are able to support you in this way. This was super, super helpful.
Amazing
for us to be able to go, oh my God, what are we doing?
It was so perfectly, we didn't plan this intentionally, we didn't go through the elections, call each other up and say, let's meet up. This was kind of pre-planned, but then it just
we thought we'd be celebrating.
But
not a
this
celebration.
was absolutely perfect, and the men in our lives are even we understand you're upset now, but we also understand you need the women in your lives right now because they're feeling something with you that they get more than what we can really empathize with. And so with that, we were able to cry and laugh and get angry and think about, okay, how do we move forward and vent and drink wine and drink beer. And
oh my God.
It was great, but I think right now, again, going back to just seeing other women, even past, on the streets and stuff, just I'm totally seeing this woman, she's not just passing by. I wasn't paying attention to her clothes, her hair, anything. It's I was seeing her, and I don't know who she voted for, but there was just this, my perception is changing, and my perception is going to allow my behavior to change.
And I've been hearing this from a lot of my friends elsewhere as well, that they're allowing their perception to change. So take care of yourself. Do anything you need to allow all of this. Don't force it. Don't fight it. Just allow it. Reach out for support and reach out to your fellow women. Reach out to whoever is able to support you and support them back, because we need that right now. And then allow this to shift your perspective. If we lived in a world where, cattiness was the assumed woman-to-woman dynamic, and I believe that this will help shift away from that. Yeah. Because we don't have the luxury of being catty with each other. We just don't. Not that was any part of my world, but I know that it is how people see it a lot of the time. We don't have that luxury anymore because we all have a shared goal to have our rights, to not have someone who makes us feel like that, who can't understand any part of the female experience or even be willing to view us as three-dimensional humans in office. We can't have that and still be against each other ever.
We can't.
So
it's not going to work. It would never
It won't work.
It won't
so
work.
From now on, I encourage you to be the one to reach out. When you're ready, go through your own stuff, but be the one to reach out. Be the one to send a message.
For me, even just I was telling Jessi yesterday, calling a few women in my life yesterday, because I was upset. It wasn't even to talk. It was just to feel and hear them. And even just like to hear one of my girlfriends just crying over the phone, we really didn't have to say much. It was like, I'm feeling you. I'm feeling your pain right now. I'm feeling your concern. I'm a mother. You know, she was a mother, so we're feeling concerns for our children. We're feeling all that. But you don't have to say much in order to be there for one another and to walk away feeling empowered to continue to move forward and to dig into that space, to find and create that space when you're ready for compassion and kindness and that humanness that we all have within us, to realize we have to rise above this. And like Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. And that's what we have to continue to reflect and be. We can't come down to this behavior of just acting out of anger and fear, because that's what, you know, like we have to act out of love and confidence. And
I think in this way too, like in terms of like how do you find compassion for someone you're so afraid of, I would say what we're answering isn't really that question even.
No.
Like, how do you find compassion for him? God, I don't
know.
I hope
that's
we'll
where we're
figure it
at
out.
too. Like,
but what we know we can do is increase our compassion for each other.
Right.
And right now, that's all that we know we can do.
Right.
So right now, that's your job.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, that's all of our job,
Yeah.
is to lean into the places where compassion and love might have been a little like rickety, but it's
Yeah.
there. You know, we can access it, because the place, like the dark tunnel of like, I don't know how we'll access that.
I don't know how to get
I
into
know
that.
we will.
I'm still working on
Eventually.
that. Like Jessi and I both,
We're
we
working
aren't
on it.
there yet. So for us to say, oh, these are the steps to find compassion for this mindset, mentality, approach, behavior, we're not there. We still can't
There isn't
find
an
that
answer.
space, and I don't know.
And God bless anybody who's just like, you know what I mean? I'm seeing like some women online, some people in general who are like, well, we all just have to get behind it, and like that's how I feel. I'm like, that is awesome. If you feel that way, do that first. But if you don't, like us, and you're really, really struggling with what that has to look like you don't want to live in fear, what do we do then?
Yeah.
This is what we do. We reach out, be willing to be vulnerable, be willing to be like, hey, like, woman, you're on my team now.
Absolutely.
Even if you maybe didn't know or think that mattered before, or you felt afraid that you'd be rejected, or whatever the thing is. If you're socially anxious and you don't know how to make small talk, get past that now for the good of like, we all need to have that compassion amongst ourselves, because that's the only place that right now we can have it. And that'll give us the support we need. That will create the movement we need in the future. And it'll just shift our energy away from fear-based thinking and back towards
Which
love.
isn't productive.
Where
or
we're in our power, where we're strongest and healthiest.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Good
luck.
Good luck. We're here for you. We love
We
you
are
guys.
here for you.
And we're right there with you. Again, this is something that we're processing, we're absorbing, we're trying to sort out our emotions. 1 minute we're crying, the next minute we're like, we got this, we're gonna do this.
Oh, you should have seen the roller coasters we've been on.
So we are right on that roller coaster, right behind you, on the same cart, going like down, up. So we're there with you, but we're also opening and extending our arms, saying we're here with you. You know, so
reach out to us, reach out to each other.
Absolutely.
Be with yourself, and good luck.
Good luck.